Hello and welcome. Let's take a look at some code that I've written here and how it's not particularly well written, and discuss a little bit about how we can turn this code from one big long file into a much more nicely organized sort of separation of concerns, highly cohesive code base. So just so that we can sort of see what it does, the first thing I would do if I opened up code like this is I would just read it very quickly. So here I've got my constructor. I can see I'm making an array list of names. I'm setting up all the information about my application here. I've got the top panel being created. Looks like I add 4 buttons to the top panel. I add some kind of a border to my top panel. The display area gets created with some scrolling and stuff. And then I have a set of action listeners. I have a save action listener, a load, a calculate, and analyze. And then at the end of my constructor, I set visible to true. And then of course I have my main where I just sort of create my new bad app so that it will actually be created. Cool. I think I'm going to set the size to be bigger to start. I just think I might need it to be bigger. Okay, so I'll just, it's all in one file, so I can just compile and run this one file. Give it a second to open. There we go. And I can start adding some information in here. So hello, and Lauren, and Ashish, and Skyla, and Joe, and Nathaniel. All right, if I push load, I'm going to be able to see the list of names that I've entered thus far. It's just an array list. It's not going to persist. If I close my app, open it again, they'll all be gone. I can calculate the lengths of each of them, just as I saw I was able to do from the code. And I can analyze the names, figure out the average length, the shortest length name, and the longest name. Perfect. Not that exciting of an application, if we're being honest. Okay, what I can see here though is that when I was going through my code with all of you, let me just move that terminal out of the way, is we can actually see that everything lives inside of the constructor. So if somebody asked me, what does this constructor do? I would say it creates all of the components and adds them all to the screen and declares all of the listeners. And also, all the listeners seem to actually do a bunch of work and calculations. So I can see that this is a lot, right? I imagine that you will sort of get the understanding very, very quickly once I start to fix up my application here. So what I probably should actually have just in this starting up is the ability to show my app. Okay, just show app. And show app would just be this one line. And I know that I'm starting with kind of a weird place, but it just kind of makes sense to me because it's a really easy step that I can see. Private void show app. And I can just pull that out. Now I know that set visible to true isn't talking about a component. It's talking about actually the whole application. Now, this is a single application program right now. I don't have it separated out into packages. I probably actually won't take the time to separate into packages in this video, but I will still sort of create different files that would probably live in different packages. The next sort of easiest place for me is that when I go looking here, what I can see happening is I have this load button that is putting all of the names that it saved. So it saved all the names to a file. And then this one here loads all the names from the file, adds them all to an array list, joins it together, and then displays it. And then I can see what calculate is doing is taking said array list and calculating all the characters. And then this one here also takes said array list for name and names and does all those calculations. So the first thing I recognize is that there's a lot of manipulation of this names list. So I think what I actually want to have is probably some kind of names manager class. And what my names manager, oh, I forgot, I'm going to probably want to save it. Names manager.java. Now managers typically live in the logic layer. logic layer. So I'll just do this for right now because I'm not actually going to make my sub packages at the moment. But what I can see here is that when I'll just start again, I'm going bottom up for some reason, but actually I should probably not for these. Anytime the save button is clicked, we can see that the string name is coming in and then it's being added to a list of names. Now, if all this is supposed to be doing is displaying information, it certainly shouldn't be in charge of keeping track of this list of names. Now, I have no validation here. I should probably be making sure that I'm not saving like empty names. But again, this was like a really, really quick thrown together rudimentary app. So don't use this like as your be all and end all. So I'll probably make myself an array list over here. If I was using an actual IDE, this would force an import java.util.arraylist. Hopefully I'm doing that right, because again, I'm not using an actual IDE right now. I can now make a names manager constructor that can set this to a new array list of strings. And now this can actually manage that names list. So now instead of this button being responsible for adding the name to the list and saving it and doing something with the exceptions and displaying an error message, all it will need to do is get the name and then call to the manager to save that name from the manager. So I would have like a names manager dot save name function that passes in name. And then over here, oops, I would have save name string name, right, like this. So I've now decoupled just this one function, but I will decouple the rest of it from the front end worrying about array lists, right? We're passing, before we were coupled quite closely with array lists. Now we can just pass around this immutable string name and everything else can happen in here. I could even make a void save to file method where I could probably want to pass in the file name if I was really smart. And all this, and I know that this is swallowing an exception. I'll leave a comment. Swallow exception. Don't do this. I can spell. Exception, don't do this. There we go. After I just told you not to write code like that. But here we go. And then this can save to file. File name. And now this instead could do file. Actually, this one would do first save. Oh, I guess it would also save to file. Save to file. Whoops, with the file name right there. Okay, so now we're actually saving the name, we're keeping a local copy, and we're saving it to a file. It does both. That's okay. This is now all cleaned up, and the action performed is really just getting the name and passing it along. And then as long as it worked appropriately, it saves the name and displays the save message. If this was actually written correctly, there'd be a try catch in here probably that I would want to be managing. So the thing is, now that I have this names manager variable here, I have to actually like create that variable. So rather than the list of names belonging in here, oh, I should have done this as just like a list. That was so smart of me before. Let's do that. Okay. What I'd rather be storing in here now is going to be my names manager variable and names manager. And so now when I make my app, I'm going to initialize names manager is going to be, I'm going to actually pass it in to really decouple things like this. This is going to bring a names manager in, and then all the way over here is where I'm going to actually make the new names manager. And I'm doing that on purpose so that if I'm going to run this through testing instead and I want to use a different version of names manager for some reason, I have that ability now. So I'm really trying to keep my code as loosely coupled as possible. Okay, so I won't need this. So far, all I've managed to do is make this names manager happen, this names manager right here. Now, I haven't finished updating all of my action listeners, but ultimately, what I'd want to be doing probably is creating some kind of a controller. Since I only have a single screen, this makes it really easy. for right now to just have sort of like an app controller, appcon. And again, this might be something that you want to pass in rather than declaring and initializing internally, but I will do it internally for now since Yagni, right? At this point in time for this project, I don't need anything more than this. And once I have my controller class, class app controller, and perhaps that really all this is going to do is set up my appcon.setUpAction listeners, right? So it's possible that all I need it to do right now is set up my action listeners. When I look at my action listeners, I can see that I'm setting them up. I have these action listeners here, and then I have buttons, and I do this for all 4 of my buttons. So what I could probably do is make methods like these elsewhere, turn that into its own method, like this whole thing, turn this into its own action listener object, and then pass that in as well, rather than what I'm going to do right now, which will be, I should be more decoupled. Set up save listener. Pass in my save button. Come over here. Public void set up save listener, and this is going to take in the button that I just made, save button right there. And now I can pick up all this and put it right here. And now I've set up my save button listener. And again, if I wanted to be like really decoupled, I could probably turn all of this into its own method as well. And then I might be able to pass in an action listener object potentially. That's overkill for what I need right now, but I will sort of continue to set these up right now. Set up load listener. I said listeners here, but it shouldn't be. It should just be a single listener. Load button. And I'm just going to do that for each of them, right? So I have my load button here. I'm going to pick this whole thing up and I'll put it over here. And what we'll find is that, names is available in here. So I may also need to pass in my manager to enable my ability to use those as well, right? Because I see I have my names manager here. So perhaps I pass in my names manager, in addition to the button, so that I can, there we go, continue to work this appropriately. Now this here, names.clear, is actually trying to clear the display area's text, right? So since I'm no longer, ultimately I just don't, I want to always be using a new list because of how I've set this up, because this is constantly rebuilding the list from a file. Not super effective, but what I've chosen to do for some reason. I should be able to basically in here just say this one line, actually. This one line should be able to be right here, and I should be able to call into my names manager, get array list of names. Perhaps I want to do it from, there we go, get array list of names. And then all of this doesn't need to be in there anymore. This all belongs in my names manager class. Get array list of names. Okay, so we're going to come down here. Public void, no, array list. Well, I guess a list of strings. Get array list of names. And what were we passing in? We're passing in the array list. No. What are we passing in? Anything? Do we even have to pass anything in now that I think about it? I don't even have to pass anything in. Amazing. So this actually doesn't need anything. And instead, we can clear out the old list. We can, add a method here, private void, oops. That's what I get for coding on the fly, right? Private list of strings. Pull names from file. Pass in the file name like this. I'll fix it so that I'm actually passing in the file name. Whoops, whoa, there we go. This should be the file name. And then all this would have to do is return pull names from file, taking in that like this. So I'm not changing any of my functionality. I'm just cleaning up my code. I had no comments before. It was hard to figure out what was happening, but hopefully with some better variable names like this, I'm actually able to make it like legible, right? We're gonna make it a little bit smarter. Even smarter would be to put all of my private methods together and all my public methods together, keep things really nice and tidy. Okay, let's go back. We still have the calculate and the analyze button. So let's pick up each of those and go from there. So each of these actually made the button here, right? So instead of just setting up like a save listener, I could do like set up save button equals save button, set up save button, make the new button right here. J button. This cleans this up a lot because now I don't need to actually pass it in. And instead I can return the save button. So what we can see happening is even while I'm refactoring, my code is evolving. Like I'm finding smarter ways to write my code as I go. I'm able to find better ways to implement things as I go so that not everything lives in the exact same place. So you can pull those out, put this in there, do all the load button stuff. Oops, return the load button. I'm not sure why it's outdented so much, but there we go. And now we can also call setup load button. Right here. Load button is going to be calling into the controller to set up the load button. And now I can do this again for the next two, get all my buttons set up, and then I could actually make a view for the panels. So I'm going to go do those. I'll be right back, and then we can continue with sort of following along with this here. Okay, I'm back from making those quick copy paste edits, and I'm just going to walk you through what I did here. So before I run it, I'll just move that out of the way. Let's just walk through the changes that I made. So just as we had seen previously, I had created, where is it here? My app controller where I actually set up each of these functions, right? Set up a save button, set up a load button. I now also have a setup calculate button and a setup analyze button where I just pulled in all of the listeners from my bad app 51.java into here. And then once I had done that and I had already started sort of moving stuff around with respect to the names manager, I then also pulled for the setup calc and analyze. I pulled the calculation creation, like string creation, and the name statistic generation logic out of the app controller because that's logic that shouldn't be in the app controller. It should be in my logic layer, which would be my names manager. So I've now created a couple of functions in here, both private, like public ones, and some helper private functions in order to separate my code out from what I initially had. Once I had done that, I basically started clumping together the different behaviors that initially existed inside my constructor. I created the container. So here's just that initial container setup. I then created my top panel. That all existed before as well. I've just now moved those calls into here so that it's nicely separated. I've then got like an opportunity to like assemble the application where I add the top panel to, I add a border, and then I sort of stick it all together with the display area. You'll notice that I am storing the display area in my app controller since the only thing this needs to be able to do is actually display, like get the display area, but it shouldn't actually do any of the work of filling it, since at this moment in time, I'm kind of actually treating this as like almost like my view. Pretty much all of this, other than like the controller, would actually live in a view file rather than extending the, rather than my main class extending the JFrame directly. This would make like a new bad app view, and then we would have a class bad app, view, which would extend JFrame. Bad, I can spell, view.java. And now this would no longer extend JFrame. All of this would actually get pulled out of here, because this is just like my main entry point into my app. And all of this should actually get pulled into its own class over here. So none of this would actually be over here probably at all. And all of it would come and live over here. There we go. That's even a bit more organized. So now I have my main entry point. It passes in my, it makes a new view, and it sort of kickstarts off this chain of events. We come into the view where all the view pieces are created, and I sort of associate a controller with the view so that the view knows who it should ask for data from and where it should go from there. The controller is actually what handles the names manager, right? Because we don't want our view actually doing any of that. So it just passes that information to my app controller, and then it sets everything up using that app controller and can just display it all. The app controller itself is what's containing the listeners and like sets up all of the listeners. Actually calls into like the save name functions, setting everything up appropriately, setting the text in the display area. All of that actually is happening inside the controller rather than in the view, because the view should just be showing it. And then the names manager is what's actually connecting to my database, which is actually just names.txt, a bunch of files in this scenario, and an array list. But that's fine. That's my file system, right? So this is sort of like my logic/business layer class, and then my persistence or my database layer is actually like my file system in this scenario. But we can see that I've sort of pulled all of that out. Again, this is by no means complete. This could be broken down further as well. There's lots of, exception handling, things that could be done better, but we can definitely sort of pull in all the different pieces of code that we had in this initial huge constructor and split it up a lot more beautifully over 4 files here. So what I've actually gone ahead and done is I've actually renamed this to be organized app 51 and organized app view. There we go. Take this, and I've renamed this and this. And so I've actually uploaded all of this code to our folder. So if you are looking to sort of take a look at what was originally bad app 51 and now we're into good app 51, you actually can go and look at it and maybe even try to make some changes for yourself. Cool. Thanks for joining me on this little mini refactor journey, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye, everyone.